Our produce is going to be very different in 2050. Stay tuned to experience the difference. Yeah, I want to talk about our food supply in 2050. And what I want to really talk about is how it's going to play out, what the key factors are, and what it means for us in terms of food quality and everything else that goes with oddly grown food, oddly grown produce. So it starts out that there's some very key numbers in this, and the numbers are very interesting. So when you're growing, let's say tomatoes in a greenhouse, you have a rate of 90% of the produce being sellable. And what I mean by that is it's good looking produce. So 90% of that produce in the greenhouse, if it's tomatoes, are sellable to start with. If you grow them in the field, in a rough field with your exposure to the elements, that rate drops down to 40%, 40 to 60% at a really good rate. So they're already 30% ahead of the farmer using regular ways of growing food in a field. The next ratio is crop per hectare or per acre, whatever you want. And it's 15 times higher inside a greenhouse. So not only do they produce better looking food, but they also produce 15 times as much per square hectare of greenhouse space compared to somebody growing 1 hectare or 1 acre in a field. That's that part. Now the next part is, and it's always going to be an energy play. And what I mean by energy play is, how expensive is it to heat the greenhouse? How expensive is it to cool the greenhouse? Will the municipality give me enough water to run a greenhouse? All these questions are going to be the most important questions in our food production in 2050. Let's talk about capital venture. So I don't think anyone would invest in somebody growing food on top of a piece of land that has nothing, just the land. Venture capital is definitely going to go towards high-tech, AI-run, everything's on smart systems. The watering is done automatically. The nutrients are supplied automatically. So the facility is completely automatic. You'll see very few people running around, and you're reducing the labor cost immensely. Now, there's many problems with that, and that is the fact that the food isn't as good as something that's grown in the dirt. I have to mention there's two types of greenhouses. There's a set of greenhouses that actually grow in dirt, another set of greenhouses that don't have any dirt in sight. The future of growing food for everyone, produce, is going to definitely be towards avoiding the environment, meaning having completely environmentally controlled environments so that there's no complete crop failure. Everything is working out in terms of protecting the crops. There's going to be a big sterile element to this where they don't want any diseases and infestations coming into the greenhouses. It's a lot easier to control it. There's lots of issues that way that these greenhouses can be very profitable if they have every single thing under control. There is a movement towards this end of heating greenhouses in cold climates. What I mean by that is, so it gets -5 at night and you have to keep your tomatoes warm enough so they don't freeze. That gets energy, it's very costly to do that, and that tendency will disappear. Production of food is going to go to places where there's a lot of sunshine. It's not overly warm, like it's not, you don't have to air condition the greenhouse so much. They're going to pick the Goldilocks zones for growing food. Spain is taking off. Saudi Arabia is doing it. Israel, China has massive complexes. So definitely food is going to pick the best place for it to be grown without having to spend a fortune on electricity. Water is probably the biggest issue if the municipalities you're moving into, if they will actually give you water to run a greenhouse. especially if these greenhouses are very water intensive. So the future is very interesting for these big outfits to grow food for us. A lot of it's going to be artificial food. It's going to be food that you probably might not even recognize. It might have a lot of built-in preservatives, whatever it may be. It's going to be very, very long-lasting food that stays in your fridge for 2-3 weeks. So it's going to be very interesting having this process of removing us from the soil to this type of factory growing. And this factory growing is actually very dangerous. It is very contrived. It is very controlled, and it's very we don't know what they're doing to make this food. It's very secretive. So it's going to be a big change in the food production. So this idea of automation, growing food automatically, controlling it automatically, having all this input, this technical input, makes the process very interesting for investors. You're not just growing food, you're actually investing in future technology. And that makes it very attractive for venture capitalists to support somebody who's trying to grow food artificially in football field size greenhouses that are completely controlled to the nines. Those facilities will find lots of investment, and they can be profitable, but there is this issue of what is it actually that they're growing? What is it actually what they're trying to do? Is it all about profitability, or is it about creating products that are inexpensive and almost fake, like fake vegetables and fake fruits? So it's going to be tricky. I think that the human population is going to get less healthy every year. Cancer will be up. All those things that are indicators of how healthy our food is will turn really ugly very quickly. I don't know if the human body can actually adapt to these types of long-lasting foods that are never grown in soil. So it's going to be a tricky future. We'll never know really what this food is going to do to us until maybe 30 years later when everyone's sick. So it's going to be a very tricky proposition. Growing food, let's call it artificially, going to be very tough on the human digestive system and the human health. But it might also be the only way that we can supply food to a growing population. There is going to be a point where we reach our maximum population level and then it declines. That might bring back some of this different ways of growing food again. But for right now, it looks like this highly technical, artificially intelligent run greenhouses are our future. Soil is complicated. Soil that's exposed to the environment is very prone to natural disasters. Crop failures are everywhere. This global warming or whatever it may be has really hammered a lot of farmers and fields, and so this growing in sheltered environments might actually be a necessity. So let's see how that turns out. It's going to be a very interesting time. And 2050 is not very far away, so this technology is going to advance very rapid. It already is. And there's some key players. The Dutch, again, always in agriculture, they always lead the way with the technology as well. So there's going to be a big change in how we get our food delivered to our table.